Hey everybody, I'm here. I'm going to show you a hack for the Coastal Cozy. It's a new pattern from Needle and Anchor. Uh, you need the pattern in order to follow this hack, and Carissa explains to you how to make it round and use binding to create these, whether you're creating anything from a small coaster to like a bigger mug rug or something to sort of put under a pot or a plant. These have so many uses. Any size you want, you can do. My hack is I had a stack of charm squares, that's 5-inch squares, that were all random colors, and I wasn't going to be able to use them on a quilt or anything. So I decided to use those for my coastal cozies and create some coasters. Okay, now I have rounded corners on here. I'll show you how to do that, but you could just leave them straight corners if you wanted to. You need to follow Carissa's instructions to the T. Start from the beginning, and in Carissa's instructions you're going to see the stitching where it is. Now these don't match, but this is my entire front panel, and then the back piece is like this. So you have two nice sides showing, pretty on top, pretty in the back, and she does all the stitching through the back. Now, in order to do my hack, it won't work that way. Now, I turn mine inside out because I don't do the binding. You can follow her binding technique, but this is an extra, this is an additional. So if you decide to not do it with binding, this is how you're going to do it for any of the sizes or any of the shapes. You follow her sandwich, you add all of the layers like she says, except for that back piece. You leave that off. Do not put it on. Now, another thing I like to do is when I make a bunch of small things like this, I like to chain piece. So you see a whole stack behind here. And for those of you who are not familiar with what that is basically you just keep going, adding your charms, just stitch. And now you don't cut off, you add the next one. Okay, and you keep going for however many you have. Now let's say I'm done, that's all I have. I come back, I pull all these from the back, so you see they're all in a chain. That's what chain stitching is. So I'm going to now cut this piece off so I can show you how to finish it, and I'll come back and finish these later. Okay, I'm going to put these to the side. So I have one completely finished. Follow the instructions, do your lining, your layers, do your cutting the way Carissa says, and the last piece that's supposed to be on the back, remember that was separated based for this hack. And what I did was, because when I stitch these together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them right sides together. Okay, now pin everything. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to go faster. Pin or clip. I used a ruler, and normally I just use my 1/4 inch foot on the machine, so I'm going to change that now. And if you're doing just straight corners, you don't need to make any marks. So you won't need to do what I'm going to show you right now. You just, if you want corners 90 degrees, you just stick this in there using your 1/4 inch foot and then go all the way around, but make sure you leave a gap on one of the sides. Not all of them, just pick one side and leave a gap. So let's say I'm going to leave my corners 90 degrees and I'm going to leave my opening here. I would start stitching here, go around, and stop here. And then I would turn this right side out. But because I want rounded corners, let me show you what I did. I took a ruler and I marked 1/4 inch in from the edge of the charm square, and I drew lines, oops, and then turned and did the same, and I got these lines. So I have intersecting lines in every corner. Then to get the curve, all I did was, just so that I have like a consistent thing for every single one of them, I took a spool of thread, very easy, you all have them, put it in the intersecting corner, and trace the curve. That's all I did. So now I'm going to show you how to close this off. Okay. So the only thing is, if you want squares, not rounded, you just don't do any of the markings. You don't need that. So right now, I'm going to leave my opening on this side. I always start with my opening so I don't forget to leave it. I'm going to come in towards the bottom. Make sure you're a little farther up away from the curve so that you could backstitch here. Okay, so start stitching, backstitch, and then you're going to stitch. Try not to go fast if you're not used to curves. You're going to stitch until you get to, let's say we started right here, right there. We're going to stitch to this intersecting point and then slowly start curving the fabric until we come down here to go straight. Okay, so right about now I'm going to hit this little intersection, and I need to be very careful and start turning my fabric right on the line that I drew. Keep turning. You stitch and turn. Make sure those stitches land on the curved line that you drew. And then once you hit the intersection, just turn your entire fabric and stitch straight down. And you're going to stitch right down to this intersection. Okay, and now we start curving again. I am doing this on my domestic only because I can work faster with my presser feet. I just got an industrial machine a couple months ago and still have to get used to working a lot faster on that. So for now I'm just stitching on this, but you're more than welcome to use your industrial for this technique. It still works. It's just a matter of, for me, I'm not comfortable working that fast on my industrial yet. Okay, I'm getting to my next intersection. And you see I'm slowly turning and curving. Turn. And there's my intersection. Okay, so now I'm at the end. Remember, I started over here, so my opening is here. So I finished the curve. What I'm going to do is do a few stitches forward, a few stitches backwards, and cut. Okay, so now I'm stitched all the way around with my opening over here. What you do now is you're going to trim to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Do not trim the edge of the opening. You will need this for security so that you can edge stitch. What you're going to do is you're going to start about here, just past your beginning stitches, and follow your curves and your lines, leaving about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. This is going to help make your coaster sit a little bit flatter. So you see how small that is? Do not go near your stitches, about 1/8 of an inch. So your coaster is actually sit nice and flat. I haven't pressed this. This is nice and flat. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to move this away from the camera so that I don't get fuzz in my sewing machine. All I'm doing is trimming. I'll show it to you in a second. Okay, here we go. So I trimmed around, and you'll notice here's my opening. Right after I went through the curves, over the curves, I did a diagonal because I don't want to cut this off. And what you're going to do now is you're going to turn this right side out. I like to use my thumbs in the corners, so I'm going to put my thumb in here. And look how nice, just like that, it turns out. And then I'm going to go to the next corner and push it out with my thumb. Now push the whole thing through. Okay. So now I have to fix the corners by the opening. So you just look inside, put your thumbs in the corner, and push it out. Okay, finger press a little just so you could see the shape. Okay, so now you see the coaster with the opening up here. You're going to take this to your ironing board and you're going to fold the opening in. So you see now you won't see those wonky raw edges that we didn't trim at the opening. Now before you press it, just make sure when you lay this down it looks nice and even, and then go ahead and press it. Now I'm not going to run over to my ironing board just for the sake of the video. I'm just going to finger press, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my foot out to my edge stitch foot. Lengthen my stitch, and I like to start stitching at my opening so I can just completely close it. Okay. And don't go fast doing this because you do have curves. Just as you go, make sure you're pressing the edges down. See, I'm slowing down because of the curves, and I need to kind of lift my presser foot a little to turn. Go slow. Press the edges down as you push it through. And just keep going all the way around. Okay, I'm about to come around my last curve to finish closing this off. What I need to do is pull my thread out from the back just so that I know where I'm back stitching. Okay. Turn all the way. Now go over the beginning stitches, a few of them, maybe three or four stitches, and then back stitch, just to make sure it's secured, and cut that off. Lift this, and there's your cozy. What you're going to do, you're just going to trim your threads off. Just make sure you don't have anything hanging. There we go. So there's our cozy, and then you follow the rest of the instructions on what to do with this. I hope this hack helps. This is how to do it without binding, and you have your chenilling technique that Carissa shows you how to do on the front, and you have a flat back. So you've got lots of options for this. You could head over to Carissa's site to get her pattern, and I would suggest you join her Facebook group, and you'll be kept up to date on any new patterns she has. There is another one coming very soon, so keep your eyes out.